Hello all, welcome again to Tejas Technology Week. Today we are moving to the third and final webinar of the series. After talking about gigabit fiber broadband using XPON technology by Dr. Sharath and via speed broadband with fixed LTE by Mr. Jishnu, we will move to our next discussion about premium connectivity services for enterprises. Joining us today is Mr. Somnath Ojha. He's a group director packet technology strategy at Tejas Networks. Few information, you can post your questions during the, while Mr. Somnath is making his presentation in the Q&A window. And also there will be a poll to understand the overall experience, your overall experience of the webinar. So I will just hand over it to Mr. Somnath now. He can project his presentation and start. Thank you.
Thank you, Anu. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, audience. Today, going to talk about the premium enterprise connectivity services and how these services can enable a service provider to generate additional revenue, high quality revenue. So let's get right into it. The presentation is structured into three parts. First, we will go through the market overview, and then we'll take a look at some examples of premium connectivity services and underlying technology layers. And then we will look at how a premium service enterprise connectivity service network looks like, and what products and services we have to offer for this particular market segment. Okay, so if you look at the big trends that has happened is especially in the last few months, the work from home trend. Because of COVID-related disruptions. But even before COVID, the trend was already visible. The mobile data traffic and broadband data traffic was increasing. The cloud services growth were happening. It's just that COVID has accelerated these things actually. So moving on to the next slide, we see that that's an interesting data from one of the European network, where in just 1 month, there was a surge in the video conferencing traffic and also upload traffic. Just in 1 month, the growth rate has been 400% in video conferencing, which is not surprising given that we are all on some kind of productivity related applications. And this particular call itself is an example of an upload. We are doing it on Zoom. Then we see that overall traffic growth and the peak traffic rate also have increased. If you look at the premium services trend from a high bandwidth optical perspective, we see there is a strong demand for 100 gig now going for the large enterprise sites, large data centers, and the cloud-enabled data centers. And in the backbone, we are seeing 400 gig and 600 gig wavelength beginning to emerge in a big way. And the data center growth, data center interconnect growth is also happening pretty rapidly, specifically inside the metro. or within the metropolitan region, actually, 100 kilometer to 200 kilometer region. The next slide, we are looking at premium Ethernet services driven by Carrier Ethernet 2.0 and 3.0. It is already $80+ billion annual services and technology market, and more than 150 service providers are certified to offer these services. It's a big market, and it is slated to grow even more rapidly. So if you look at the technology layer underpinning the premium connectivity services, they can be categorized into several layers. So if you look at the bottom of the layer, you have fiber optic infrastructure. And on top of that, you have a photonic layer. And then traditionally, we used to have TDM circuits based on SDH, and which is in some cases replaced now with OTN. And then on top of that, you have a transport layer, packet transport layer, and then you got IP and Carrier Ethernet services on top of that. So these services come at different technology layer, and the choice of technology depends on the type of services to be offered, and also the amount of bandwidth that needs to be offered. So if you look at the SLA parameter, this service from a low latency, medium latency to high latency, bandwidth guarantee, scalability of the bandwidth, and what kind of protection that the service comes along with that. So one of the earliest premium connectivity service at packet layer was standardized by Metro Ethernet Forum as Carrier Ethernet 2.0 service, was E-Line and E-LAN service. So these services have been the foundation for building the packet-oriented transport services, and the services are defined in terms of Ethernet interfaces, and the service is characterized by a set of certain attributes, service attributes. These have been very successful, one of the most successful services in the premium connectivity space, and used for a variety of reasons, as an Ethernet private line or a virtual private line, or Ethernet private line for internet access. Also popular has been the multi-point services, and this particular type of service has been used for a variety of applications, including LAN connectivity across the metropolitan or wide area network, and also to deliver IPTV type of services. So example from a Metro Ethernet Forum point of view, you could have a premium service which is catering to connectivity, high quality bandwidth to a VPN for a enterprise use, or it could be a data center interconnected to each other, or as the data center is moving to the cloud, to the public cloud or hybrid cloud, you could have an enterprise site connected to cloud, site to cloud. We will take a look at how each of these are being delivered or can be delivered in subsequent slides. So let's take a look at three types of enterprise customers. One is the work from home, small office, home office. So these are typically delivered through some kind of fiber optic infrastructure, which is GPON, or in future it could also be XGS-PON or NG-PON. So these services typically go to public cloud, but they can also go to enterprise cloud or hybrid cloud. Small, medium businesses, they are very price sensitive, so they are delivered using some kind of Ethernet infrastructure, where you can do some kind of end-to-end SLA using Ethernet ONM protocol. And you can also have some protection mechanisms such as Ethernet protection mechanisms such as Ethernet ring switching protection, ERPS, while keeping the cost down. And these services also can go to either public cloud or hybrid cloud over a service provider network. Next is very high quality bandwidth, and not just the quality of bandwidth, but amount of bandwidth is also pretty high, and it is very deterministic. You need to provide end-to-end SLA and a guarantee for lower latency and jitter, including packet loss. So some kind of traffic engineering is implied. So the large enterprises are typically delivered over higher bandwidth, high quality packet or OTN or combination infrastructure. And these customers are serviced in terms of N into 10G or even 100 gig bandwidth. And they connect to on-net cloud, private cloud or hybrid cloud, or they can even go to split the traffic to public cloud. So these are the different types of enterprise services which are offered. But the last one is what is typically what we refer to as a premium services, because the SLA requirement is stringent. The bandwidth usually is much higher. It's in increments of 10 Mbps or 100 Mbps or even Gbps. And end-to-end traffic engineering and the SLA requirements are tougher. And the customers are higher paying usually. So moving on to the next slide. Here is an example of how a premium business VPN services can be delivered more efficiently over a PTN OTN type of infrastructure in the metropolitan area. So in the first case, on the left hand side, you have site A and site B, and this site A and site B are having an E-line service, and then site A, B, and C have an E-LAN service. Now these services are being delivered using traditional router-based infrastructure, but these essentially are connectivity services. Now the service provider challenge here is that there are multiples of 10 gig links, and then you need to bundle them together, figure out how to deliver the services more efficiently. So some kind of link aggregation or load balancing is used across those, but it also implies additional fiber usage. And if the additional fiber needs to be saved, then underlying DWDM infrastructure need to be brought in, which requires additional capex. On the right hand side, the same service is being delivered more efficiency using a 100 gig OTN OTU 4 ring. So OTN can be used as a mapping layer without much of a switching requirement here, other than the central side, aggregation side. And the edge could simply be 100 gig Ethernet using MPLS technology mapped to OTN ring. On this infrastructure, 10 gigabit Ethernet E-line service can be delivered. The same from a service standpoint of view, there is no difference, except that the SLA associated with service is far more simpler. There is increased bandwidth efficiency because bandwidth is more evenly distributed. and the latency goes down because of 100 gig link, and the overall cost, capex and power consumption also goes down because of movement of the traffic over a OTN layer at the transit sites. So this is one example of how premium business services to large enterprise in the CBD, Central Business District, can be delivered actually with very high quality platinum gold quality SLA. Another example is where similar scenario is there. Their data centers in the edge or the large enterprise sites in the edge, and you need to provide 100 gigabit bandwidth, which also needs to be secure, and this 100 gigabit bandwidth is guaranteed with comes with low latency, low jitter, protection switching sub 50 millisecond, and also end-to-end encryption at the physical layer itself. So that type of service can be delivered using OTN encryption at layer 1 level actually. And this is typically used to deliver services to large data centers for web scale company. In this example, web scale company A and web scale company B are connected using this infrastructure. And on the line side, all of these 100 gig encrypted traffic from the gray clients map to the 400G or 600G wavelength on the photonic layer. Moving on to the next example. Here a bunch of sites where the bandwidth requirement is not humongous, like 10 gigabit or multiple 10 gigabit or 100 gig. They all can be served. It's a gigabit full rate or in hundreds of megabits or partial rate 10 gigabit. These kind of customers can be serviced using packet network, PTN network, and typically these customers are connecting to cloud, one of the cloud services. So cloud is either on the internet or on the service provider network itself, on net cloud. And the objective is to extend gigabit or any or 10 gigabit or partial 10 gigabit to the nearest router, which is connected to the cloud. So that is the type of services. But the objective is, since the infrastructure requires a critical running critical application, you need to provide the same very high level of SLA, and that's why it is premium. And by SLA, I mean that lower latency, lower jitter, or packet loss guarantee, protection switching, bandwidth guarantee, end-to-end tracing of the service, those aspects. So different cloud service provider can be existing, and the services can go to different cloud services. Example in this slide is Microsoft Azure or Amazon Web Services. Then another example of a premium service could be on an existing legacy infrastructure. It's existing legacy photonic infrastructure, which is old, 10 gigabit deployed in that, and you want to upgrade that. You can easily upgrade that to 100 gig or even 200 gig. But the cost of upgrade from the existing vendor would be humongous. Then you can simply use it as an alien wavelength solution to deliver 100G wavelength or 200G wavelength. And now suddenly the same infrastructure without any change has been enabled to deliver multiples of tens of gigabit services. And that has been very useful and very successful in terms of upgrading the existing infrastructure. Rather than doing wholesale upgrade, you can simply add equipment at the end and using the existing ROADM and amplifier infrastructure, you can deliver the premium services over the existing photonic network at layer 0. So if you really look at the technology choice for premium services, it really falls into 3 types of category: PTN, OTN, or wavelength based, OTN plus wavelength based solution. Oftentimes there could be hybrid solution. You can groom the services at the packet layer first, and then once the pipes fill up to 100 gig or 200 gig level, you can route those 100 gig, 200 gig pipe without any further, at the lowest cost possible, which is basically at the photonic layer or at the OTN layer. So really the choice of technology depends on the amount of bandwidth to be dished out, the type of connectivity, point to point or point to multi-point, or some other form, and also the SLA. If there is a real hard bandwidth guarantee required for a higher bandwidth, let's say 100 gig, then the best infrastructure would be either OTN or photonic layer actually. But if 10 gigabit bandwidth is needed, for example, or sub 10 gigabit bandwidth is needed per site, and the bandwidth guarantee is at the Ethernet frame level, not the protocol transparent level, then you can actually offer the same service at the packet layer actually. And once you are in the packet realm, you can offer these services with various degree of SLA using statistical multiplexing and queuing mechanism actually, which also means the service definition becomes a little bit more complex because of existence of multiple class of service. But it also means that you are able to differentiate those services. So and also take advantage of statistical multiplexing for a relatively lower SLA services. So technology choice is really depends on the type of services that is being offered here. But all of these would fall in the premium category because there is much higher and stringent level of end-to-end SLA applied to these services compared to, say, a broadband internet type of services or a connection-less services such as IPVPN, where you don't give end-to-end guarantee. So how do you do that? So at the edge, as I was talking about, at the edge, you could potentially offer either packet-based infrastructure or OTN-based infrastructure in case there is a very high bandwidth demand and the complete transparency at the protocol level is needed. But if it is packet level, which is what majority of the services are, you could offer uni at 1 gigabit, 10 gigabit, or 25 gigabit, and the network side would be 10 gigabit or multiples of 10 gigabit or even 100 gigabit. If the service granularity at the user end is 10 gigabit, then the network side, you could have 100 gigabit ring. And you could, on this interface, you could actually provision the bandwidth in certain granularity using the traffic management handles which are available in the packet infrastructure. And the whole connection can be established end to end through a particular path to give a certain behavior, which essentially gives a deterministic nature to the bandwidth being provided, both in terms of protection switching as well as bandwidth guarantee and the associated parameters such as packet loss and jitter. once a service reaches in the aggregation or the core, you now all have a situation of these bandwidths are already packed into 100 gigabit or multiples of 100 gigabit. Then it is more efficient to pack them up into OTN and photonic layer and route them through the optic layer 1 or layer 0 infrastructure. ODU flex also can be used to have at a granularity of 1.25 or 5 gigabit to actually give you further flexibility in terms of filling the large photonic or OTN pipes. The advantage of such an infrastructure is that they are absolutely platinum edged in terms of SLA, ultra low latency and low power actually. You get bandwidth efficiency and statistical multiplexing and of the packet at the edge, and once the traffic moves to the core, they are routed or switched at a lowest layer to improve the cost and efficiency. So what does the network architecture look like? So access for the home with lower SLA, you could have GPON services, home offices and home broadband users. And for the businesses, you could have a 100 gigabit packet ring or n into 10 gigabit packet ring, depending upon the required. You could even have 100 gig or 400 gig OTN ring for a data center interconnect for a super premium customers. At the edge, you have n into 100 gig ring, which could be packet based ring, or n into 100 gig OTN ring. If the traffic is already coming groomed, you can start OTN from the next layer itself. Or if there is more grooming is required, you can put them into next level of packet aggregation. And finally, you can put them all into the core n into 100 gig, 200 gig or 400 gig OTN DWDM layer actually to deliver the premium enterprise connectivity services actually. So that's what kind of network architecture looks like to deliver that kind of services that we just spoken about. So if you look at some of the products that we have in this space to deliver such services, we have a family of one RU product in 1400 and 1600 family. We have aggregation product for providing redundancy, which ranges from 2 to 7 RU. And we have core product 1600 a product which can go to multi-terabit at a photonic layer and also OTN layer. In terms of convergence, we converge multiple technology in access, and that's been our philosophy in the access, that we converge as many technology in access as possible. So GPON, carrier Ethernet, MPLS TP, even OTN are possible to deliver at the edge. And then at the next layer, we allow people, our customer, to basically provide the network to be either aggregated either in the OTN layer or packet layer. If the traffic is already groomed, then OTN layer serves better purposes here because it provides ultra low latency and also ultra high bandwidth. And in the core, super high capacity. So some of our product in this regard have been already very successful, and this is the product that I was talking about, which is in the access, which has won many awards as well. It supports multiple technologies like GPON, carrier Ethernet, MPLS, OTN, even LTE fixed wireless also being integrated with 5G upgrade option. And it has won finalist award in Light Reading 2019. So key takeaway is that enterprise connectivity services have been growing at a rapid click, driven by the surge of the traffic from site to VPN, site to cloud, cloud to cloud, or data center interconnect. COVID-19 related disruptions have further accelerated this trend only. There is opportunity to offer premium services at the lowest cost per megabit. That's the key thing here. Small, medium enterprises using C 2.0, 3.0 for the bandwidth in increments of 10 megabits up to gigabit or multiples of 10 gigabit. Large enterprises and the data centers, bandwidth in increments of n into 10G, even n into 100G, mapping to 600G. We have a innovative end-to-end portfolio to build these access and edge, access, edge and core solution to deliver the premium enterprise services. So with this, I come to end of the short presentation on the premium enterprise connectivity services. We can begin to have a questions session.
Sure. So we already have a couple of questions with us. Before that, I request all the attendees. I'm just about to launch the poll, so you can just mark your experience in the for the questions, and we'll start with the question and answers. And the first question we have is, what types of customers should we target with PTN and OTN based services?
That's a good question. I think the choice of technology is dependent on the type of services. The difference between OTN and PTN is that one notable difference is that amount of bandwidth that can be serviced by each technology. OTN can service much higher bandwidth. It can service n into 10G, n into 100G kind of bandwidth. And other difference is that the number of such services will be much higher scale in packet technology. But the guarantee is at the Ethernet frame layer. Whereas in OTN, the guarantee is at much lower layer, at the PCS layer, physical signal level. So you are getting, irrespective of lower level of Ethernet protocol, you are getting complete bandwidth transparency. So the SLA is much higher, the bandwidth requirement is much higher, and the pure bandwidth is needed between the two routers. Then OTN is more suited. The SLA can be either protected or unprotected. In case of bandwidth requirement is lower or more in the nature of Ethernet, then packet technology is more suitable. E-line service or ELAN service or any such C 2.0 service can be delivered to connect to a router somewhere, which will connect to some cloud side, private cloud or public cloud or some enterprise VPN site. So the choice of technology is really dependent on the type of bandwidth and the SLA needed, and also the cost of that service. If 100G bandwidth also will come at a higher price, and such customer would be typically web scale. OTN is the right technology, but the premium players there would be somebody who consume that amount of bandwidth and fill those pipes actually. Statiscal multiplexing and the QoS at the packet layer, they will take care. So these are the factors, some of the factors that determine the type of technology to deliver a premium service.
All right. Moving to the next question. What are the benefits of a PTN-based service when compared to IP or MPLS?
IP over MPLS is a full bouquet of service. It has a lot of complex protocol, and the number one service that dominates there is IP VPN service. And essentially, what really happens is that the SLA is in the form of IP frames, not Ethernet frames. The contract is to accept the IP frame from the enterprise routers, the customer edge router, and forward those IP frames, maintaining the resiliency or rerouting capability in the core of the network, and deliver it to some head-end site at the enterprise location. And that is a dominant service in the IP MPLS network. If that is not the dominant services, if it is more of a connectivity services like CE 2.0 or CE 3.0, or even high bandwidth services, IP MPLS network is not suitable for such a thing. So IP VPN is a connectionless IP datagram delivery service, and that is something which is not always the case for the premium service. Premium services are defined by high bandwidth, high SLA, pure bandwidth between the sites. So IP MPLS is used to deliver the services at the IP layer for IP VPN actually, and that's where it is useful. It is not suitable for premium connectivity services, which is pure bandwidth with high SLA services and with low latency, low jitter.
Okay. Moving ahead to our next question. In some of the countries, there are some requirements from regulatory to have DPI, which is Deep Packet Inspection, for service provider for an EPL or E-line service. Does Tejas have solution to provide DPI or net flow type packet capture facility or solution on the NMS for each EPL or E-line service?
That's a pretty interesting question. What we have is the ability to capture the particular service flow that is going from the EVS, EVC, which is another name for the service being offered. EVC could be E-line or E-LAN or any other Metro Ethernet defined services. So we capture the flow from the EVC and we can redirect it through a physical port to a lawful interception or a DPI device actually, where the analysis can be done actually for the suitable purpose actually. So that is the ability we have. We don't go into the layer 7 and layer 5. That is the external device to which we dump the traffic flow that can do that job. So at the transport layer, we have the ability to intercept any flow at the by flow we mean at the EVC level flow, which can be dumped to deep packet inspection or lawful interception device actually for further analysis.
Okay, so moving ahead to our next question. Before that, I request attendees, if you want to ask any question, you can type in the Q&A window. So I'll just ask Som to answer those questions. Moving to the next. What kind of SLA monitoring features are supported by Tejas products?
That's very good question. So we have ability today to do pre-service SLA provisioning, whereby before the service is provisioned, you actually check that in the packet realm that the service can be delivered as per the agreed contracted CIR and PIR. And for that, we use things like RFC 2544 and Y1564 mechanisms. over the EVC. Once the service is in place, okay, before we put the service in the network, we also have the ability from our network management system to actually do traffic engineering for that service. So assign proper route, protection switching, and monitoring paradigm, end-to-end monitoring paradigm for that service. And once the service is running its life, we have the ability to monitor end-to-end SLA through Y1731 or .1AG at the Ethernet layer. At the MPLS layer, we have the ability to monitor the service at the using BFD mechanisms. And at the pseudo wire level, we have again VCCB, BFD, and pseudo wire status messages mechanism. So at each layer, in packet layer, it gets tricky because you have Ethernet layer, you have tunnel layer, you have pseudo wire layer, and then you have on top of that Ethernet as a service being delivered. So at each layer, we have the way to monitor the fault and performance at the end layer, at the end service layer using Y1731. So these are some of the mechanisms. We also have a regular statistics collection and historical performance, real-time performance monitoring in our NMS to show how the service is really doing on a per EVC level and per flow point level.
Moving ahead, we have a next question. Please describe the facility of OAM and CFM on Tejas NMS for EVC.
Yes, so that's what it's related to the previous question. So the facility is based on IEEE.1AG CFM mechanism, whereby we enable end-to-end fault monitoring of the Ethernet as a service layer. So MEF defines Ethernet as a service layer. Underlying infrastructure could be anything. In our case, the underlying infrastructure could be either OTN or could be MPLS, or it could be both on top of each other. So we have ability to monitor the Ethernet service, how it is performing end to end through IEEE.1AG, and packet loss measurement through mechanism defined in Y1731, and also latency and jitter level that can be monitored end to end. If the service is being delivered on the OTN layer or a photonic layer, then automatically the OTN layer parameters are utilized to do end-to-end monitoring for the OTN pipe actually.
Okay, moving ahead to the next question. Can layer 3 VPNs be used to deliver premium connectivity services?
It depends on what we define as premium connectivity services. Layer 3 VPN is the primary nature of contract is to deliver IP frames. So I accept IP frame. So the contract is not for the Ethernet frame. So we accept Ethernet frame. Then the premium layer 3 VPN IP MPLS is too complex to deliver those services. It is designed basically for delivering IP frames. So they are not suitable for also giving bandwidth guarantees and latency and packet loss performance actually. That is typically can be done only into transport type of network, either MPLS transport network or OTN or photonic layer. That's where you can give absolute bandwidth guarantee and absolute lower latency. Many applications require such lower latency and upper bound on the latency to perform well, especially when you're talking about data center interconnect, where a virtual machine needs to talk to each other and orchestrate through the cloud a particular task. There is a real-time constraint. Similarly, the storage application. So these applications are better delivered over Ethernet. Another newer application emerging is mobile front haul. So any high SLA, high bandwidth guarantee application, which needs stringent SLA, cannot be delivered through the IP VPN services. IP VPN service can do a very good job of forwarding IP-based services actually. So premium connectivity services, if it is non-IP premium connectivity service, meaning that guarantees at the Ethernet layer or some other lower latency application layer, then it will do a poor job of that.
We have a couple of questions more, so I'll just move to next. What protocols are used to make ring redundancy in PTN or OTN?
So in OTN, the topology may be ring or mesh or partial mesh, but the protocols are typically 1+1 protection switching actually, which is very similar to how SDH networks performed actually. And you can have an overlay of GMPLS as on layer to provide next layer of protection or restoration actually. So that is the mechanism. So it is topology independent. In case of PTN, it is again similar. It is end-to-end protection mechanism that is used to provide. So it is topology agnostic. And then if a protection path fails, a new protection path can be provisioned through a centralized NMS actually, or a controller, centralized SDN controller.
Moving to next, does NMS have built-in RFC 2455 test facility for EVC?
Yes, that is something that we are, the feature has just come into the node. So we are now integrating it to the NMS. So very soon it should be available on the NMS. On the node, it is now being made available.
I think
everything in our node would be available through the network management system. So there is usually some time lag, 3 to 4 months before a feature is also available from the NMS. Feature is already available on the node.
Okay. Thank you, Somnath. We are actually done with the questions. We don't have any more questions from our audiences. In case they still have any query, they can definitely write back to us at marketing@tejasnetwork.com. We'll be happy to divert the questions to Som and he'll get back with the answers. Once again, I thank everyone. And with this, we come to the end of our Tech Week webinar series. It was a great pleasure having you all for the session. You can view all the recordings of the webinars, the first, second, and today's third one in our website. And in case you want to connect with us further, as I mentioned, you can write to marketing@tejasnetworks.com. Goodbye and stay safe, everyone.
Thank you, Anna.
Thanks.